Welcome. I told you it was coming, and well, here it is. A Nocturne for Heroes is a crossover event with Final Fantasy XV that first appeared in 2019. It's also known as that event where you get the 4-seater car mount. I need to warn you though, you will not be given that car mount. You gotta earn it. A Nocturne for Heroes ends on October 18th, meaning it lasts a total of 5 weeks. You need to have one job at level 50 or higher, and have completed the ultimate weapon in the MSQ. This is the end of the Realm Reborn storyline, and the first time you are given an ending with a credit roll. You will need to unlock the Gold Saucer in order to purchase some items, including the Regalia 4-seater car mount. The quest to unlock mounts used to be optional, but is now required to progress the MSQ at some point, but I'm not sure when. It's possible if you are coming back on an older character you might not have done it. If you haven't, pick up and complete My Little Chocobo from your Grand Company headquarters. Talk to Swirgame in Vesper Bay to unlock glamours and dyes. Be warned, she really likes orange juice. You can unlock the aesthetician, the hairstylist, by completing the quest Beauty is Only Scalp Deep, available in Limsela Minsa from this girl here. And if you're wondering, yes, you can do this on a trial account. Unlike previous crossover events, this one sees the introduction of a new feature that allows you to replay the questline on a character who did it previously. This gives you absolutely no rewards, however. More on this later. The story begins in the steppes of Nald with Kipi Jakia, who we most recently saw during The Rising. However, she was also involved in the Final Fantasy XIII crossover Lightning Strikes. She is a reporter for The Raven, a newspaper published in Gridania. She is here investigating rumors about a black vehicle and mechanical soldiers. And she gives you the quest, The Man in Black. Anyway, she sends you out to Blackbush in central Thanalan to investigate, so teleport to Blackbush Station or leave through the Gate of Nald. When you survey the area, you see the mysterious vehicle you heard about, and just as the theme from Roseanne starts, you find the eponymous Man in Black. No, not that one. This is Noctis from Final Fantasy XV. His car is broken, and he doesn't know where he is. But before you cry amnesia, he does know who he is and where he comes from. So the only other explanation is, he's from another world. Or was that a different world? Anyway, you meet up with some people from Garland Ironworks, who were out looking for these mechanical soldiers, as well as Sid, who is impressed by Noctis's ride and offers to fix it. Noctis thinks the mechanical men might be MTs or Magitech troopers. And so he runs off to see if he can learn anything about how to get home. As fate would have it, you meet up with Noctis about to engage the enemy. Well, you may actually have to wait for him by this boulder.
That is a nice boulder.
When he does show up, somebody needs to talk to him to begin the F.A.T.E. Then he's ready to engage. It's a level 50 F.A.T.E. and will drop you down to 50 when you click the level sync button. The F.A.T.E. is pretty straightforward combat, so you might want your Chocobo companion out. First, some Magitech troopers appear, but soon a giant robot called Max, or M-A-X, or Ma-X, shows up. A few more troopers will show up as you progress, but they are finite, and all of them need to be killed, as I found out one time when we defeated Max, while some troopers were still up. Completing it, you will get the usual Gil, experience, and company seals. And you will probably get 1 or 2 crates of unknown Magitech.
Bunch of scraps!
Meet Noctis down the road a piece, just outside of town, and he confirms they are in fact MTs. And he almost runs off, but then he remembers you. You report back to Sid that the rumors are true. I mean, he could have just referred to Rule 27. Noctis shows up and asks, "Dude, where's my car?" And as Sid is assuring him, Kipi shows up and starts fangirling. She gives him the 3rd degree, and he teaches her how to say regalia. and we find out Noctis is taken. And they run off to Ul'dah together. Though the Ironworks hands are addressed during this scene, they are not open to take your unidentified Magitech yet. But since you are in the area, you might as well do the F.A.T.E a couple more times till you have 6. More on this later. Head back to Ul'dah to turn in the first quest. Kipi gets a call from a colleague and just assumes you'll join her. Who put you in charge? You receive a little Gil XP and Noctis's glove. At this point, the Ironworks hands open for business to sell you Orchestrion rolls for your unknown Magitech. If you don't want to head all the way out to Blackbush, there is one right here in Ul'dah, in the Sapphire Avenue Exchange. More on this later. When you pick up the second quest, In the Dark Night, you find out that Kipi intends for the 3 of you to go to the Twelves Wood, also known as the Black Shroud. As Noctis is about to run off, Kipi reminds him that he's new in town. Teleport to Gridania to investigate the rumors there. However, before you begin your investigation, notice Noctis went clothes shopping at Macenta's booth. Kid's such a prima donna. The first person you should talk to is by the White Wolf Gate, so just use the Aetheryte to leave through the White Wolf Gate and re-enter immediately to talk to Roustabant. Then run north to Old Gridania and take the Aethernet near the Conjurer's Guild to the Lancer's Guild to talk to Meoni. And then run straight south through the Ebony Stalls to the Rosewood Stalls and talk to Hadrafort and his brother. Catch up with Kipi near Maketo's amphitheater, but first talk to Noctis and he mentions Yajime. More on this later. You tell Kipi that the MTs were spotted in the East Shroud and Noctis takes off to go get them. And it's your job to go after him so he doesn't get lost. You run into Noctis north of Hawthorne Hut in the Bramble Patch. However, instead of MTs, you discover a demon, which I think is some sort of void scent. This is a solo duty, but at least you have Noctis to help. There are no ads, you just need to defeat Isiltalin, if that's how you say that. If you or Noctis die, you can try again, and you will then be able to choose one of the 3 modes, normal, easy, or very easy. Don't worry, I won't tell. The only difference I've noticed is the amount of damage you take, which can make some instant death mechanics survivable. All the same mechanics are in all modes, so if you perform well enough, you may not even notice which version you are in. These duties are tougher than any solo duties you would have had pre-50, and use mechanics and markers you would not have seen yet if you are freshly 50. But you will see them later in the game. The most important tip I can give you is to make sure you watch what the monster is casting. Tail Whip is a circular AoE with a pie slice taken out of it. Just stand in the slice if you are melee. If you are ranged, you can stand outside the circle and hit him, but don't get too far. You will want to be closer later. He'll do 2 tail whips in opposite directions. When he begins to cast Stomp, it means he's going to jump in the direction he's facing, which will produce a shockwave radiating out from where he lands. It shouldn't be too much damage as long as you are not close to where he lands. And soon after, he will cast Death Ray. Run between or alongside the lines on the ground, toward and past him. Rays will follow these lines away from him, and a laser wall will return to him, doing a bit of damage if it hits you. If you are behind him when the wall reaches him, you should take no damage. Needle Shot creates a 5-arrow marker on Noctis. This is usually called a stack-up marker. It means everyone who doesn't have something more important to do should stand as close as they can to the person with it. This shares damage with everyone that is nearby. In other content, this can be instant death for the person if nobody stands with them. So go stack up with Noctis. You will see it used in much more complicated scenarios later in the game. Thunderbolt will put markers on both of you. The circle on the ground will follow you. Get far enough away so that the circles do not overlap. You can each stand on opposite sides of the enemy and be safe in melee range, so you can keep doing damage during this. Shortly after that, he will summon a pillar. You need to watch out for this because there is no cast bar. so it's probably a good idea to keep the camera zoomed out. Unlike me, Noctis doesn't know what to do, so you need to go stand on it. Basically, people who stand on the pillar take a little bit of damage, so everyone takes less damage. Every time after this, there will be 2 pillars, so you need to watch for which one Noctis goes to and go to the other one. You may need to sprint to get to the right one if you go the wrong way. I think the mechanics are somewhat random, but they will repeat until you kill the monster. After a hard day of fighting mechs and monsters, the 2 of you decide to get something to eat. So you set up camp and Noctis mentions one of his friends depending on which choice you make here. Back in Gridania, you let Keepy know that you found no answers, but only more questions. Like, why are there demons here too? And then Noctis runs off again, and Keepy sends you after him. If I didn't know any better, I'd think these 2 would end up together. Anyway, you find him trying on clothes with Macenta again. And when you turn in the quest, Noctis gives you his pants. Dude, if you keep giving me your clothes, you'll be going home naked. Picking up the next quest, Messenger of the Winds, you find Noctis frustrated that he is no closer to finding a way home. So like most men do when life gets confusing, he decides to go fishing. He walks off, but he does invite you to come along. Hey, I happen to be a pretty good fisher cat. That's it. You find Noctis in the central shroud fishing. He hasn't figured things out yet, but at least he's calmed down a bit. He wants to take a photograph, and like most kids these days, you're not sure exactly what one is. And he runs off back to Gridania to check with Keepy. Keepy is frantic because more mechanical soldiers have been spotted in Ixal territory. And word has it, the Ixal have retaliated by summoning Garuda. Again. Seems Noctis has experience with primals, including Garuda. Then Noctis tries to touch you, or give you the power of kings? His special power? Talk to Keepy in front of Carline Canopy to take an airship to Ixal country. And of course the Ixal are scared shitless of the demigod they have summoned. Then Garuda, or Garuda-like being, shows up. I mean, is it Garuda? Something different about her. This is not your father's Garuda. Well, she seems to know Noctis, and she wants to fight, as usual. When the duty begins, you should notice you have a special action, Warp Strike. This is Noctis' so-called Power of Kings. Activating it pulls you to your target, kinda like Bionic Commando. Besides Garuda, there are 2 targetable monoliths here. Throughout the fight, Garuda will jump to one of the 2 monoliths and begin casting Mistral Shriek, a huge AoE that covers most of the area. You probably can't run out of it, especially if you are melee, so this is where Warp Strike comes in. Turn around and tab target the monolith on the far side of the arena and warp to it using Warp Strike. You will notice that Noctis does the same. Immediately turn around and target Garuda. When Noct says now, warp back to Garuda. If you hit her around the same time, you get a Link Strike, which does a decent amount of damage. It really doesn't have to be that close though, and just striking when the cast finishes is fine too. Careful not to select the monolith behind her, you won't do any damage if you do. You can get a couple hits in before she jumps to the center of the arena. Remember, each time she jumps, you will need to retarget her to do any more damage. Mistral Song is a wide frontal cone attack, which is easily avoidable if you are close to Garuda. Mini Supercell will place a different type of stack-up marker on Noctis. As the arrows imply, you don't need to be right on top of the marked person, just in line with them. When the cast finishes, you will be knocked across the arena, interrupting any spell being cast, and receive a good chunk of damage. Gravitational Force will target you 3 times in a row, leaving circles that inflict damage and heavy status if you step in them. Just run out of the circles before they hit. You'll have to use instant range attacks during this time if you want to keep up damage. About halfway through the fight, Garuda will begin casting Microburst, which will repeatedly pull you toward her. The pulling doesn't do any damage. You will receive massive damage if you are near her when it finishes. This will probably kill you on normal. Just stand near her with a monolith selected, watch the cast bar, and when it reaches the last letter of the spell name, warp to the monolith. Gust Front has no cast time, but puts red triangle markers on you and Noctis. These are sometimes called Doritos by players. Everyone with a marker should stack up to reduce damage of a coming attack and negate certain effects. So stand with Noctis. You will know you were not close enough if you get thrown into the air. After the halfway point, Mistral Shriek will now pull you into Garuda at the beginning, meaning you have zero chance of getting out without using Warp Strike on the far monolith. Wicked Tornado is a donut-shaped AoE. If you are ranged, you can just wait outside, or as melee, you can Warp Strike to Garuda at the center. Near the end, Garuda casts Mistral Jail, trapping you in a tornado. You will not be able to do anything until the active time maneuver starts. Then you either click or tap a key on your keyboard or button on your controller to break it. You got a good amount of time, but if you do fail, this will mean instant death regardless of difficulty level. When you break the jail, Noctis finishes up the fight by turning into several different jobs in quick succession. Apparently he learned some stuff from the locals. When the battle is over, Garuda, after trying to kill us, decides to help Noctis get home. Yeah, he's a little confused too. Sid shows up with the regalia, finally repaired. So Noct jumps into his car and drives into the light. Back in Gridania, Kipi is thinking about the woman she saw in the light. Sid assumes they had a deep bond, and Kipi seems a little jealous. Anyway, she thanks both of you and walks away. And Sid realizes we never figured out how Noctis got here in the first place. Oh well. And what a great friend Noctis is. He even left you the shirt off his back. And his shoes. Each of the 3 quests gives you a little XP and gil. But besides that, you also get an achievement, which gives you the Kingsglaive title. To activate it, open the character sheet and go to the Profile tab. Click on the title button. You can sort by name to list them alphabetically. As you complete the 3 quests, you may have noticed that you obtain parts of Noctis' outfit. There are 4 parts in total, and they all can be stored in the armoire. You can access the armoire from the glamour dresser to add them to glamour plates. The shirt will hide any neck jewelry, and the glove will hide all wrist items, even though it's only one glove. Rings will not be hidden. All items can be dyed any color. And if you lose or misplace any part of the outfit, you can recover it from the recompense officer for a small fee. Finally, this adds 4 cutscenes to the Unending Journey, under Quests and Special Quests. The 3 quests are listed here. Keep in mind that there are a total of 12 cutscenes during this quest line, so far from the complete story is saved. However, the camping scene is one of the 4, so you can try all 3 responses and see Noctis mention all 3 of his friends. You can go back and do the F.A.T.E in Central Thanalan whenever and as often as you like while the event is active. It rewards the usual experience, gil, and seals like other F.A.T.es, and also gives you the unidentified Magitech you will need to purchase the special Orchestrion rolls from the Ironworks hands. Once you get the 6 Magitech you need, there is little reason to do it after that, as it doesn't count for F.A.T.E achievements nor the challenge log. I mean, if you like it, do it as much as you want. I won't judge. Gold is pretty easy to get as long as you participate for the full event, and rewards 2 Magitech. Silver gives you only 1, and Bronze gives you 0. Besides that, when you are done with the quest line, or if you did this in 2019, you can do the whole quest line over from beginning to end. Just speak to Kipi and she will give you the option of replaying, and then a list of warnings and advice. You will need to click the little checkbox. Click yes and accept the first quest to begin. You will not receive any rewards other than those from the F.A.T.E, and the vendors will not be available until you complete the appropriate quest. So why would you want to do it? Well, just to enjoy the story, I suppose. And maybe replay the 2 solo duties? As I said before, there are a total of 12 cutscenes in this questline, and only 4 of them are available in the Unending Journey. The Ironworks hands become available after completing the first quest. These vendors sell 6 Orchestrion rolls, 1 each for an unidentified Magitech. Though you can go back to Blackbush Station, these hands are also found in all 3 of the main cities. Once collected, the roll is listed under Seasonal in the Orchestrion log. You can play them on the Orchestrion in the inn or in your apartment. I assume these are all from Final Fantasy XV, though some sound like variations on previous works from the series. After you finish the 3rd quest, the Ironworks vendor in the Gold Saucer opens up. He sells what you probably came here for. The Regalia Type G title costs 200,000 MGP and gives you a variation on the car Noctis drives in Final Fantasy XV. This mount holds 4 people and transforms when it takes off and lands. Since it needs to accommodate any size character in any seat, it doesn't scale to the driver like single-person mounts do. This can make many characters look tiny sitting in the driver's seat, and Lalafels just stand on the seat. For multiple people to ride this mount, all potential passengers need to be in the same party. The driver mounts up like any other mount. The passengers need to right-click and select Ride Pillion, and then select a seat. Seems the first seat is the front passenger seat, or shotgun. Second is left back, and third is right back. However, all 3 seats are selectable no matter which are filled. You will be placed in an available seat if the one you select is full. The song A Quick Pit Stop plays while riding in this mount. Modern aesthetics, Lucian Locks is Noctis' hairstyle. I'm not a fan of this hairstyle, and like many of the newer hairstyles, it seems more pixelated than stock styles. It costs 30,000 MGP and currently cannot be used by Viera nor Hrothgar. Maybe someday they will allow them to use it, and if you have the MGP, you might as well buy it just so you have it.
That way you'll definitely have it.
As consolation, even though Viera and Hrothgar can't use special hairstyles, they can be used on your retainers, assuming your retainers aren't Viera or Hrothgar. Finally, there is the Noctis Lucius Calum card for 20,000 MGP. This is a triple triad card with Noctis' face on it. It's a 5-star card, so it's pretty powerful, but there are limits to the use of 5-star cards. Note that this card has been available at the Gold Saucer from the card sellers ever since it was introduced with the previous iteration of this event. However, it was priced at 200,000 MGP. Consider it to be on sale, get it while it's cheap. Some quick tips for grinding MGP. Go through the challenge log. You can get over 80,000 each week for just doing the things on the Gold Saucer page of the challenge log. The fashion report is worth up to 60,000 each week. You can get 10k for just trying, and another 50 for getting only 80 points. Follow Meoni on YouTube or Kyoko Star on Twitter. Both explain the easiest ways to get 80 each week, usually by Friday morning. Kyoko also made this lovely infographic, link in the description. I recommend doing mini Cacpot 3 times each day. It costs 10 MGP and at minimum you get 36, so you cannot lose. You get the maximum for getting 1, 2, and 3 in a row in any order, and it's pretty easy to figure out if that exists on any particular ticket. Also, buy 3 jumbo Cacpot tickets each week to easily turn 450 MGP into at least 3,000. You can only lose if you forget to pick up your winnings by Monday. But try some things out, see if you enjoy them, then do those. My guide from last year gives a brief description of most things you can do at the Gold Saucer. Before this event launched in 2019, crossover content was added to Final Fantasy XV, which involves a Makote from Eorzea named Yajime traveling to Eos, the world Noctis is from. If you talk to Noctis just before you talk to Kipi in Gridania for the first time, he mentions her. As part of that content, Noctis and friends battled the Final Fantasy XIV version of Garuda. The version of Garuda you battle during this event is a summon Noctis obtains in 15 as part of the collaboration. The Max and Isiltalin are bosses from Final Fantasy XV. The MTs also come from there. At one point, Noctis mentions astrals and messengers. These are what people in his world call the beings we call primals in Final Fantasy XIV. Many of these beings appear throughout the Final Fantasy series and often have special names, such as Espers in 6, Guardian Forces in 8, and Eidolons in 9. The camping scene is clearly a reference to the camping scenes that take place in 15. I think this event is great. It is one of the most engaging storylines of any event. It has a good amount to do and a great selection of rewards and items to purchase. There has been some complaint about having to obtain so much MGP for the mount. I must admit, requiring MGP is a bit random. I would think Tomestones of Poetics would make more sense, or even a currency made specifically for this event. However, I think the amount is quite doable and reasonable. I'm not a hardcore gold saucer player, and I've made that amount many times over on several characters, and with the multitude of tips and guides available, there is little excuse to not get it. The option to replay the event is a nice addition, and I hope to see it in future events. Though it does allow you to see scenes not saved in the Unending Journey and replay solo duties, I still think all cutscenes should be in the book, and solo duties should be replayable from the Duty Finder. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful and entertaining. A very big thank you to Backwater J and Electra Ninja. If you have any questions, please comment below. Goodbye.